It's a thing that happens quite a bit, and it's not good. So the reason that they're doing this is to bullshit you. No one buys it at the full price. This is a thing that is circumventing Steam's rules. It's very heavily looked down on in Steam. It's very, very not good. And what they've done here is, if you look at this, it says it's 92% off, so it's only $889. But if you look, they've mostly just marked down a couple of these to an egregious amount. So it looks like it's very, very off, but it's not. This is absolutely a scam. This is an actual scam. So when we're talking about scams and people are like, oh, that's a scam, this is a scam. This is a scam. This is them trying to trick you into thinking that it's good value, when in reality, it's a shitload of games that are not games being sold for $200. That's a scam. Is this allowed? I guarantee Steam's not going to be happy when they find this, but there's a million of these. Not a scam, money laundering? You don't know if it's money laundering? I also find a lot of people will blame anything that's high priced as money laundering, and that's not really how money laundering works, as much as people want it to. That's not how that goes. So money laundering, the way that it would require is this. You have to have two parties for money laundering to work. You have party A, you have party B. Party A gets a bunch of money illegally. That's what they do. Party A has a bunch of money illegally. They pass this money in some form to party B, or they get it through credit cards, stolen credit cards. Let's do it with stolen credit cards. We'll talk about that. Party A gets a bunch of stolen credit cards. They want a whole bunch of money back. Party B puts a product up for sale. Party A buys this product or service with a bunch of stolen credit cards. They give a percentage back, usually 70% or greater, back to the people doing the money laundering, the ones there, and they keep a cut of 30%. And they just keep doing this with more and more and more stolen money. A really good example of this is actually here on Twitch. There were people that were doing this not too long ago. If you were a streamer, you may have been contacted by someone that says, hey, I would really like to buy a whole bunch of bits and give them to you. And all I need you to do is give me some of that back. So I'll give you $1,000 in bits or $1,000 in subs or whatever it's going to be. And you give me $700 of this back. And you get to keep the $300. And some people go, wow, okay, that sounds great. But here's where this happens. Number one, you've performed a federal crime in the United States. That is money laundering. That is a federal crime. You go to jail for that shit, because what they're doing is they're using stolen money to do this, and you're making it clean by handing it back to them. And who gets left with it? You. Number two, they can also charge it back, which means they now get all of this back and your $700, and you're out all of that money. That happens a lot too. There is never a time where you should ever engage in these practices. So to say that something that is highly priced like this is money laundering, you're reaching and you're making a guess. What we can tell right out the front is that that is a scam, not necessarily that it's money laundering. As much as you might believe that this is money laundering, as much as it may be a portion of money laundering, you don't know. So don't claim it. And that's one of the things I keep trying to tell people is don't jump to conclusions with this stuff. You have to find out first. What is a scam exactly? The scam exactly is that it shows up here as 92% off, and it looks like you're getting a really big deal on a whole bunch of different games that are in here, because this is the thing that you end up seeing. And then when you look inside of here, they've actually only done 92% off on a very few number of games in here and kept the rest at $199.99. These games are not worth $199.99. These are not $200 games. If you look at these, they're likely going to be very simple free store asset games, asset flips that do something that doesn't matter. Like really, really short games. $200 for every single one of these. And they'll be part of all these different bundles, and they'll try to put them around everywhere. It doesn't make any sense to sell this for $200. Doesn't make any sense at all. And they'll have a bunch of reviews like all of this. Interesting with 3D graphics that interested me with its graphics. What does that even mean? It's bullshit reviews. Like, okay, search for objects in 3D. Take an object and drag it to its place, and so on until we drag everything. In general, interesting and unusual. They're bot reviews. It's a ton of bot reviews. Simple puzzle, suitable for the first time. So you have bad botted reviews. You have a scam package of games. This happens a lot. And they do this because they're trying to trick even one person into buying this. And you'll see hundreds of these too. Hundreds and hundreds of them. How many times has a parent handed their kid like a tablet? And the kid goes, I want tank game. Parent goes, just have tank game. Whatever. Happens all the time. They prey on that kind of shit. How many times has elderly person been scammed out of money? Why do you think Kitboga exists on the internet? Kitboga's entire thing is scam baiting, catching scammers that are ripping off elderly people or children or anything else that's going on there. All of these are specifically geared to prey on those people, dude. That's what these are for. They're not for you. They're not for the average person that understands the internet that will go engage with it. They're for people that are in a position of either not understanding how this works or a position of emotional distress. A while back, my grandma almost got scammed out of $10,000. The reason why? People called her up. They said that they were the state police and that they had arrested me and that she needed to wire them $10,000 for bail, or that she would never see me again. Anyone else would know not to do anything about that, and that that's a scam, and to hang up the phone and call me. But she was emotionally impacted by this. She got terrified. She knew that if she hung up the phone, she'd never see me again. They convinced her. So she ran out in the street. She contacted her neighbor. She's like, I really need to get to the, I can't drive when I'm on the phone. I need to get to the bank. And the neighbor's like, this is a scam. This is a scam. You need to hang up the phone right now. And she ended up doing it. And she called me and I was like, it's okay. And she was crying. She was freaking out. And I was like, I need you to go to the police. I need you to tell them everything you know. Give them the phone number and do that. And she said, okay, I'm going to go do that. And I was like, did you give them anything? She's like, I talked about my bank account a little bit with them. I was like, you need to go to the bank first and make sure that all your accounts are locked down. Everything's cool. And she went to the bank. She went to the police. And the police were talking to her about it. She's like, yeah, we actually just got a number of other people, other, elderly people that got owned by this scam in the last week. So many other people had just gotten owned by it. And she would have too if that neighbor wasn't there. If that neighbor wasn't there, she would have either gotten a car accident because she was panicking on the phone with these scammers, or she would have actually wired that money over while panicking at the bank. And this is the thing, is like, these types of things are for preying on those people. We'll go look at this publisher, Heed. Oh. And the only time you get negative reviews like that, the only time, is when they caught people. And those people went and gave it negative reviews, which is sad. Not recommended. Last few items cannot be picked up. This game is $199.99, which means they probably got it during one of those bundles, and they likely got scammed out of money. Happens all the time.